Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of One Round Left. My name is Chase and today I have in front of me the greatest battle implement ever devised. This is the US rifle, caliber 30, model M1, also affectionately known as the Garand. I say Garand because that's what most of the World War II vets called it. I understand that John Garand was how you pronounce his last name. People can argue with me. I really don't care. My rifle, I can call it what I want. Moving on. This rifle was, at the time of its release, the most devastating weapon ever fielded in the hands of a soldier. Everyone knows General George Patton is who gave the quote on it being the greatest battle implement ever devised. John Garand was a genius, and Springfield Armory, H&R, Winchester, International Harvester, they did a great job making these rifles, and this rifle is really what helped win World War II. So let's begin with the review, and first let's make sure it's clear without getting grand thumb. So you just take the bolt, pull all the way back. Obviously you can tell that there's nothing in it, so we can continue with the review. Also, when you're playing with an unloaded M1, be sure to keep this hand on the bolt. Push it down. There you go. You don't get bit. Most of the time when people get M1 thumb, it's usually to them playing with an empty rifle. And there's two types of people. People who have gotten grand thumb and liars, because this has actually bit me one good time in my life. So to start off, let's go from front to back on the rifle, and then we're going to go into a little bit of the history. So standard blade front sight with your two little hoods here to protect it. This is a operating rod system. Actually goes up underneath, very similar to the AK. In fact, the AK-47 is basically an upside down M1 Garand. Says a lot about the platform. Sling swivel, standard bayonet lug, wood furniture, your secondary sling swivel. This is just an old surplus sling. Moving on to your bolt. Actually works off of a camming action. One of the best rear sights ever. This peep sight has been copied hundreds of times with battle rifles, assault rifles, machine guns, I mean, you name it, even just commercial firearms here in the United States. Rear sling swivel. This rifle here actually has its mark because this is where it would have been on the end of a rack. So if you ever see one with a rack snap, it means that on a rack of guns, there would be one at one end, one at the other. That's how you knew, which batch those guns came from. This model is a Springfield 6 million series. This was made close towards the very end of production. This was one of the last M1s produced at Springfield Armory. Walnut stock, beautiful condition. Actually, my dad bought me this rifle when I was 13. He got it from a dealer, I believe, who the dealer had got it from the CMP, which is the Civilian Marksmanship Program. And as soon as I got it, I was just amazed. Like, I grew up listening to World War II vets, and World War II video games were immensely popular at the time. Medal of Honor, Rising Sun, the early Call of Duty games. This was just a huge, huge part of my life. And, knowing that I had one, it was just, oh man, that was the best present ever. So the condition on this rifle, if you're going by the CMP's standards, this is a correct grade, collector grade. All original parts, it's all in great condition, very little damage on it. Most of it was the wear on this. Then this rifle did not see combat at all. It was issued way too late, and it was just produced. The contract ran out. They shut down production. Most of the time they would get either boxed up and put up in an armory for reserves, or they would be lent out to other countries that were friendly with the United States. Japan, Greece, there's the Philippines. There's a bunch of countries that had M1s on a Lend-Lease system. And you've been seeing them come in, I'm sure, lately. The Filipino ones came in a couple years ago. We had some Greek rifles come in recently. And that's kind of adding to the numbers that we have here in the country, because there were a lot of M1s that the government actually paid to throw them into what was basically a wood chipper. It was just this giant machine that they would pay whatever amount it was per rifle, and they would just chuck them in, and no telling how many hundreds of thousands of rifles actually were destroyed for no reason, when they could have sold them to the CMP and then in turn could have been in the hands of the public. And it's just a real shame, but I'm glad that that was stopped and we have these rifles now to enjoy today, because this rifle was used in World War II, Korea, and early Vietnam, and the people who carried it were heroes. And it's just a wonderful thing to be able to have these and appreciate them today. So let's go with some of the M1's, what it's known for. It's, obviously the ping, which you've heard everyone say, oh, well, when a Allied soldier would shoot his rifle and he would get to the last round, it would ping and the German would pop up and shoot him. That's the biggest fallacy I've ever heard. There are World War II vets who I've heard say that is not true, never happened. The whole taking a clip, hitting it on their helmet or throwing it on the ground, just to get someone to pop up and boom, they would shoot him. There was never any actual evidence of that. It's mostly just based on Hollywood opinions and from what anyone can say to sell a rifle at a gun store. But it's along with a lot of other World War II, what people consider facts. You always got to do a little bit more digging before you want to say it. It's just not true. But we can do the ping though, where I'm in an empty room, so everyone's going to hear it. And it's going to be really loud. You can take an empty clip into an M1. It doesn't have to be a loaded one. So let's say we're about to fire our last round. The clip will auto eject from the gun. As you can see, it can't go through the bottom. And it's not a stripper clip, so it doesn't just charge ammo and then fall out. So when the rifle would shoot its last round, it would pop up, and there you go. But that's where the whole, M1 ping came from. Wonderful rifle, they aim great. I've never known anyone that has shot one that was just like, man, these are terrible. They've got a good trigger on them, especially for a military gun. Safety, a lot of people think it's dangerous, but just be careful with it. Safety on, safety off, safe enough. It's a military rifle. It doesn't need to be too safe when it comes to getting your safety off. So, we'll be taking this rifle out for shooting, and it'll be against steel, no long distance shooting or anything like that, just so that way you can see how the rifle works and, someone can enjoy it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with that video. And until then, I will see you in the next video.